Ladies and gents, welcome back to another Engineers podcast. Today I'm joined by Devin, who's Director of Engineering at a company called Viam. Viam helps companies unlock the power of AI, data, and automation in the physical world. There's some household names we're going to be talking about today, but stay tuned for that. They're providing a single platform for engineers of all disciplines to solve problems together and build solutions that are fast, future proof. There's some names that actually founded the business that we're going to talk a little bit about, um, that are big in the industry. Series C business, doing some awesome stuff. Devin, thanks for coming to join us. This has been a while in the making as well, by the way.
Yeah, it's been a real journey to get here, but I'm really happy to be here.
No, we're finally here. Before we talk about VM, we always start with a bit of an intro into you. So take us away, give us a bit of background into Devon.
Yeah. So as you mentioned, I am currently a director at Viam over what we call the fleet management organization. So that includes um, the web application app.vm.com, specifically all of the tools that you use to create and manage your fleet. Our mobile engineering team, so building our mobile app and consulting with other companies to get them up and running with VM and their mobile applications. And then what we call our Viz team, which is our robotics interfaces and data visualization team. So a kind of fun space that gets to interact with a few different parts of the platform.
Love it. This is the first time we've actually had a business that is in the intersection of robotics on the podcast. So do you want to give us some insight into VM, a bit of a journey about VM and the inception of the business and problems that you're solving today?
Yeah. So VM is born out of the idea that robotics is really hard. And anybody who has tried is going to tell you that hardware is difficult. It is hard to debug. It requires a lot of effort. It requires knowing a wide variety of disciplines. And even if you have all of these pieces to this puzzle that you're trying to put together, actually getting them to fit is often very difficult. You have, different technologies backing all of these things, drivers that are, whoops, technologies that are backing these different things, drivers for all of these different systems. Getting all of these things to integrate is really, really difficult. And it's often one of the reasons why getting even past the prototyping phase is so difficult, right? And so what VM tries to provide is a platform that makes getting the software and the hardware elements working together much easier by letting you configure all of the various hardware components for your machine in our interface. We have those backed by drivers that are either built by us in house or by other engineers using our registry product, which is how we can allow our users to share various drivers or various pieces of code, reusable modular code. And you can put all of that together and get a machine up and running backed by, a vision detection service, a color detection service within a few minutes. I just recently had a project at my house. There is a local company, moving company, that has a very distinct color of moving truck that I have felt has been more than present recently on my block. And so I grabbed a Raspberry Pi and a webcam and set up a color detector to just snap a photo whenever that very distinct color happened to drive by my house. And within a weekend, I had 700 images, and they were pretty much all exactly of that truck. Not the exact same truck, but of that company's driving by. I didn't have to do much trimming at all for false positives, and that was really kind of trivial to set up with our system. And it was just kind of a fun little project that I was able to put together that would have been really difficult, honestly, otherwise, without having all of those tools in one place.
Love it. That's a great use case. You're not just a VM fanboy with the hat, by the way. You're actually putting it in. You're actually putting it into practice, which I love.
Yeah.
On the use case part, when we've met in person, we've spoken about a couple of use cases. Before we talk about the platform part and how VM is actually made up, can you walk us through, if you like, some real life use cases of at a larger scale? where VM is actually being deployed and used.
Yep, we have a company called Canyon Runner that we've been working with that is deploying devices on fleets of boats, quite literal fleet management. Turns out boats are floating buckets of sensors for all sorts of different things, and they all communicate with each other on a network. There's a lot that goes into the technology of communications between all of these boats, and we were able to uh, use VM to basically drop in the AI backing for all of these sensors to be able to push data to the cloud. And what that has allowed is a company that was offering a concierge service for fishing, where a captain was literally having to call their customers on his cell phone and give them kind of the most up to date information. To a company that now has a app that has all of their boats visible on a map. They have all this information that they're collecting from these boats is getting pushed up to the cloud. They can use that to offer all of their customers really comprehensive information about the current environment, where folks are actually fishing, where the good fishing spots may be, where they may want to move. We've had situations where there's bad weather patterns that they've been able to help folks navigate around, and all of that is possible by just really allowing VM to just kind of sit right into their system, plug right in, and start making all of that communication between this boat and the cloud possible. And it's been really interesting to see these machines get deployed, and see the map grow with more and more boats on it, and all the kind of information that it's gathering. And they're able to layer the information they're gathering with publicly available information like NASA weather data and all these other things. And it's really interesting to see how a product like that evolved from a kind of interesting use case of how do we help people be better at fishing, to deploying a literal fleet of smart
Yeah,
boats out on the water.
exactly. Walk us through what makes up the platform, SDKs, platform operability, and break some of the engineering challenges that you're seeing inside of a robotics business. Working with hardware, software, and we've touched on it, AI, data, automation. It's a complex little bubble.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. There is the problem, right? It requires so many disciplines. So even trying to approach that platform requires, the folks we have at VM, who you have people like me who come from a web application background, to folks who have doctorates in various disciplines who have do not come from a traditional software background, but having to put all of these pieces together requires having that multiple discipline kind of staff available to be able to take on these challenges. So the core products are open source RDK, as we call it, which is VM Server. VM Server is the actual application that runs on your machine. It is written in Golang. It's backed by public APIs that we use Protobuf to generate all of our APIs in various client languages. So what we actually do is we have this VM server. It handles being built out in the various binaries that have to actually run and handle all of the communications and interoperability. All of these SDKs, since we implement all of our APIs using these protocol buffers, we can generate client-side language code for all of the languages that we want to support, which ends up being all of our SDK. So we have Python, we have a TypeScript SDK that works both in the browser and Node environment. We have C++ SDK, and we can continue to increase that list into Java and Flutter to be able to create mobile applications. And how that works is once we have this client side code, we're able to implement all of these API functions in that language specific way that now gives any user who wants to write in those languages all of the tools that they would have in the actual syntax and language specifics that they would generally expect an API in that language to have. And then whatever SDK code you write will communicate directly with the machine or will run on the machine itself potentially. All of that is handled via gRPC, Google or gRPC protobuf stuff. And yeah, I mean, that's really the main kind of idea behind what is backing it. We also have what we call the Viam microserver, which is written in Rust, which is meant for more embedded devices or smaller SBCs that don't have the resources of say like a Raspberry Pi. So targeting smaller chips like an ESP32 for kind of devices that are meant to run on low battery mode or potentially run long living times on very limited resources.
Yeah. Okay. So actually, we've moved from what looks like this complex bubble to something that is really quite simple. And you've built, in essence, what sounds like a really smart platform that engineers, people using the platform, can literally plug, play, configure for their fleet or however they actually want to use it on physical hardware.
Yep, exactly. So the beauty of having all of those APIs public. So this is open source code. The VM server code, the microserver code, all those things that run on your devices are open source, or SDKs are open source. But even just having those API definitions, those contract agreements for these APIs publicly available means you can spin that up in whatever language specific stuff you want to, as long as it's supported. Even if we don't support it, doesn't matter. If you want to put it together, do it. Nothing is stopping you from doing it. So the ergonomics are pretty great from that standpoint. And then deploying onto the machine is pretty standard process of, flashing device, whatever is kind of specific there, and just getting the machine up and running. We have a product called Viam Agent that gets loaded on the machine along with the server that helps managing keeping the server up and running, connecting to your Wi-Fi network or whatever network connections you need to make, making sure that the VM server is up to date. If you want it to be, you can pin it to specific versions. If you want to lock it down, it makes sure that the maintenance part of keeping your machine up and running is handled automatically for you, just once again through some configuration steps. And then once your machine is up and running, you can write code in your SDK of choice. You can deploy it as what we call a module, which is just your specific kind of code that you can either deploy to our registry publicly for other people to use. You can just keep it as a local artifact, or you can keep it private, so it's just for you to use within your organizations. But that lets you share that code across multiple devices. And between VM Agent and our cloud, we can handle deploying that code directly to your machine. So you don't have to do any of it manually. Unless you want to do it manually, you can still do that with the local version, but you don't have to. And so then, you write this module, you put all of this into this machine, you configure it through our interface, and now you have this machine, and that's great. It's up and running, you're prototyping, it works, but now you have to get it on a whole bunch of machines. And so we have what's called a fragment, which is a reusable robot configuration or machine configuration that you can basically take this one machine and you can save it as a fragment, and now you can deploy it onto multiple machines. And you can still override specific values in the configuration. So if there's things that you need to rename or specific, pins or ports that you need to connect to, you can override whatever's in the fragment. You're not beholden to it, but it makes it so much easier to be able to go from that prototype to now you're deploying to multiple machines. You can version and tag different fragments so that you can have a deploy pipeline. So, I tag all of my live production customer machines to a prod version of the fragment, but I have my dev and staging versions of the fragments that I can play around with and test with and ensure that things are going to work properly, run them through the tests before I switch that over to become the prod version and deploy it out to the rest of the machines. And once that fragment's updated on the machines, once again, the machine itself, the agent, knows how to take that in, digest those updates, and then get your machine up and running with the new configuration.
Love it. Love it. Great context. And I think the Series C round, and this is recent, is a really good signal that you're building some great stuff. There's great traction in the market. Do you want to talk to us about what that Series C round means for VM, what that allows you to go and do over the next period of time?
Yeah, it's really exciting. We are partnering with Neuron, who is a company in Italy who is very involved with manufacturing in Europe. A lot more automated manufacturing is happening in Europe right now than it is in the United States. So this is a great entryway for us to start working with a lot of companies in Italy, but across Europe, to start getting VM involved in places where there is a lot of real world automated manufacturing happening, which is really exciting space for us to be getting into. Obviously, it does let us, get to work with some interesting and really fun companies. Like, Ferrari is on one of those, and I know we're really excited about that. But it's not just those huge names. It's also these mom and pop manufacturing shops, these small businesses in Europe who are looking for ways to be able to scale, who are looking for ways to be able to take these existing systems they have and improve on them. How can we improve our QA process? We're having to spend a lot of time and money having to make these micro adjustments to, our factory line as things are moving through, because bolting this thing on here pushes the thing over this way. And so now someone has to come stop the machine line and go and readjust things. How can we get ahead of that? How can we make our manufacturing lines more efficient without having to completely update our entire setup? And so this is a really exciting opportunity for us to be able to start taking these things, these value propositions that we know VM offers, and really start to put them into a lot of new use cases that haven't been as easily available to us.
Love that. What's been your biggest learning working at a robotics company? You had a little laugh and a giggle at the start of the conversation of like robotics. Wow. Um, and I'm hearing a lot about physical systems, factories. When we're talking about, let's say, as an example, consumer products, the problems are very different. When we actually explore them on this podcast. So, it'd be great to get your take on what have been some learnings.
So yeah, as I giggled and mentioned at the beginning, robotics and any sort of IoT smart machine, as we call it, project is difficult. Hardware is difficult. Getting it to interact with software is difficult. And at the end of the day, it's not super often that you have somebody who is both a hardware expert and a software expert. And I myself am certainly not a hardware expert. I had zero anything IoT, smart machine, robotics background before I joined VM. And so just having to get into it and get my hands dirty and start building things and learning how all of these systems worked, without the VM way, and then starting to figure out how we can make them work with VM has been a challenge. It's intimidating. It's hard. Like even the simplest of project. Okay, you want to put together something that requires a couple of motors, a sensor, and this and that. Oops, I ordered the wrong motor because it turns out it doesn't work the way I expected it to with this other system, or it doesn't use this communication protocol that I expected it to use, or all of these things, or it's it's tough. And so even just getting into a point where you can actually start prototyping and testing and getting to the actual project work, putting all the things together so that you can actually start the project is difficult. And that's been a challenge for sure. Also, it's just not a space that I really knew. So, understanding new concepts about machine learning, about computer vision, about all of these things that are really very fundamental to the things that we are trying to accomplish here were new concepts to me. I mean, I not new, I was aware of them, but they were not anything that I really ever explored before. So that's been a challenge. It's been exciting. It's been a lot of fun. As I mentioned, there is incredibly talented people at this company who are very much experts in those fields. So I get, some direct hands-on mentorship from some of the best, but challenge nonetheless.
No, I bet. We're talking about new concepts here: machine learning, computer vision, AI, extremely new concept. Are VM doing anything with AI at the moment that we should explore on the podcast?
Yeah, so obviously we give you the ability to start, backing your own systems with your own AIs, train your own models, manage your own data, and to be, upfront, that is a portion of the product that I am not responsible for. So I'm not the best person to dive into a lot of those deeper concepts, but it is definitely an area that we're exploring. And within the company, we've been encouraged to interact more and use AI more in order to help us move faster. Right? It kind of makes sense. It's the what we're selling. So, we've been encouraging our engineers to use AI for coding things like Cursor and other things like that to help see if that helps speed them up. We've been gathering feedback on that process and understanding what tools work, what tools don't work. Some people have been playing with, just using AI to interact with VM in some interesting ways here in the company. So we are definitely interested in it. It is definitely a major portion of our product, and it's something that I think is going to be we're going to continue to explore. As far as where the product is going in that specific direction, um, it's moving fast. So trying to keep up with where things are and staying on top of making sure that our platform tools can manage all of these tasks and handle these kind of things. We've also put AI into our product. If you go to our doc site, if you go to our app, there's an Ask AI button up the top that is linked right to our documentation. It's linked to the registry modules that we have written, and it can help you actually like get a registry module, like write a module, your own business logic code up and running pretty quickly. I just did it actually fairly recently with that color detector a bit. I wrote a little module that would, whenever it was taking a picture, if it detected the color, it would actually data capture it and send that image up to the cloud. Otherwise, it would just ignore the image and move on. And it was exciting to kind of just use this AI and give it a shot and say like, okay, help me write this module, right? And there were some road bumps along the way, but overall, it helped me get to the finish line in a couple of days. And I think that's the kind of stuff that we're excited to see and continue to implement into our product, on top of
That's pretty awesome.
empowering folks to do it themselves.
That's pretty awesome. Look at you. Look
It's
at you.
fun.
Yeah, exactly. Um, for what you can share, talk to us about where Viam will be moving towards for the remainder of the 8 months that we've got in 2025. Whether that's new products, again, for what you can share, and maybe moving in a certain direction. Just be good to understand that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is the platform has gotten to a point that we are really excited to be able to start showing it to people and really start pushing towards getting more folks on board and really get people into production. We want to get more machines into production. And so right now we are really focused on putting together the solutions that help make that happen, finding the companies who have use cases that we can help with, move fast on them, and get something out and live and into production and really push our system to the limits, test the platform, see how things work, find where the gaps are, and then start filling those gaps immediately. And so right now, the product is kind of all facets of the product are evolving pretty rapidly in a lot of different exciting ways based on how we now have people in production using our tools and saying, hey, this is great. I wish I had this, or this isn't so great. I wish it worked like this. And taking that feedback and being able to apply it quickly and keep moving and helping them get to that fleet of robots and not just that prototype. So the biggest thing, for my teams, what I'm really excited about is the focus on just giving you more insight into your fleet. We've given you the tools to be able to get that fleet up and running. Now that you've got that machine or those, 100 machines, 300, 500, 1,000 machines live, how do you keep them live? Things are going to happen. Devices are going to go down. Things are going to happen. How do you have awareness into what is the health status of my fleet of machines right now? And so we're putting a lot of focus into tools that are just going to help enable that and give you more visibility on where things are going wrong, or just give a visibility on how our uptime's looking, how are all of these kind of just general fleet diagnostics, I guess is the best way of putting it. So that's a really exciting time because it's really just for us, it's like showing we have the values there. People want to use it, so now it's all about scale and the speed on delivery to get these solutions out for folks. And that also means it's become a very very collaborative environment within VM where we are working much closer with our solutions engineering team to make sure that we're providing them with the tools to be able to work with our customers, and we're providing the tools that our customers need.
That's a pretty nice shift.
Yeah,
That's
it's
a pretty
exciting.
nice shift. Talk to us a little bit about, before we wrap up, where you'll be hiring, if you'll be hiring over the course of this year. This platform's been a phenomenal driver for businesses over the last few years to be able to attract some really good people. Who will you be hiring? What will you be hiring? And when?
Yeah, I mean the company is growing. There's the openings for we have leadership openings as the teams are continuing to grow. The organization is having to manage that growth by reorganizing in smaller ways in order to accommodate. I know there is a lot of hiring going on to be able to support some of the specific use cases that we are starting to see. Really exciting tools coming out. Like one thing that I'm what's getting really excited about is some of the visualization tools that we're getting ready to have coming out pretty soon. That's part that one of my teams is working on, and it's the ability to see not only just your machine being rendered in a 3D environment, but other things that you might care about, navigation, pathing, just alerts of where things are around the machine, potentially point clouds of what maybe it is getting feedback from on a LiDAR on it. And being able to start visualizing your machine in the real world and having a better idea of what it's seeing, for lack of a better term, and having the ability to render whatever you want to in order to support having all that information available to you, I think is a really exciting um, portion of the product that is going to be uh, really, really interesting as it evolves. And so we're hiring for the Viz team to be able to, continue to support these kind of tools, working in 3D environments, working with 2D rendering and, charting, all those kind of things, alongside our, tools to interact with machines. So it's pretty exciting spaces there. So some pretty fun openings.
Love it. A pretty wide spectrum. And
Yep.
considering off the back of Series C, there's phenomenal growth that's coming into different new markets in a different geography.
Oh yeah.
Plus, from what I've just listened to, restructuring the business in the right way, bringing the right leadership experience in, but now thinking about new functionality for some of what you've already built at VM. Visualization team was a great example. So I think there's a lot there. And for people listening, there is a lot there. Go and look at VM. There's some open source stuff that, Devin kindly listed off about how you can access VM. Or if you want to be a nerd like Devin and actually sync up your Raspberry Pi and start spying on people in your streets, then do it. No, I'm
Hey,
kidding.
the camera was not pointed at folks in the streets. I made that
No,
pretty clear.
I'm
But
kidding.
that's, we talk about some of the challenges with robotics and putting VM in space. That's a concern. So another example of our use case is at UBS Arena here. We have the Islanders play hockey. It is we've built a quick queue application which helps folks find the closest bathroom with the shortest line. Now, if you've been to a large sporting event, that's some valuable information. But of course, the first question everybody has is, where are those cameras pointed? Right? Like, where you're,
Yeah,
and now, of course,
yeah,
they're not pointed
exactly.
anywhere
Yeah,
inside the bathroom. They're using the existing security system. We were able
yeah,
to basically drop VM right into all of it. Turns out, hey, you got a bunch of cameras. Let's start backing those with some logic, right? We can use our computer vision to count the people waiting in line outside of the bathroom, count the people waiting in line for concessions, all of these kind of human logistics problems that you have when you start packing a whole bunch of people into an arena. And once again, we were just able to layer VM into their existing system. But those kind of concerns about privacy and stuff like that are valid, and that's one of the reasons why our product is open source. If you want to see the sauce of what's running on your machine, you can go take a look. You do not have to use the cloud. What the portions of the application I build, you do not have to use. You could completely ignore those and set up everything yourself, and you can totally do that. But we provide a lot of ergonomics with the data management, with the fleet management, with just all of the basic setup stuff that it's, in my opinion, worth it to go jump on app.vm.com and try it out if you're interested. Also, it's free to try up to a $5 tier, which my silly project here that, like I said, I uploaded 700 images to the cloud. I didn't break the $5 tier, and I trained two, data models off of the data I collected after I had to label those 700 images. Which, boy, was that a fun task! But I was able to do all that, and I kept under the free tier, right? And now, so if you are interested in trying out some of this stuff, I would encourage you to just go jump on app.vm.com and give it a try. Also, go check out docs.vm.com. Our docs team is amazing. Like I mentioned, there's that AI button there, but the docs team puts a ton of effort into that page, and it has a bunch of great information, but more specifically, has some really great tutorials that you can follow and just get something up and running really quickly. and they will help you know what kind of parts you need. Like I said, mentioned, so sourcing all of the hardware is always a difficult part of that. So they will help you out. They will, they have everything that you kind of need to be able to get up and running with some of these projects. We also have a Discord that they're very active on, and a lot of our engineers are really active on, where if you have questions, you can just come and ask us questions directly.
Love it. You've been a true VM fanboy. You just went into one, an amazing one over the last couple of minutes. You have been a legend, and I love the energy, the creativity, the ingenuity. Good for you, and I'm excited to see where you guys and girls go over the next 6 to 12 months. And I want to see VM scattered around on this side of the pond. Um,
Yeah, it's
but
exciting. Hopefully, I'll be able to meet up with you over on your
you
side
will.
instead of you having to come to me.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Um, Thank you again. And for everyone listening, all your likes, shares, subscribership, all of that good stuff does keep this little ecosystem buzzing around. So continue to do it. And again, Devin, thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Elliot. Have a good one.
Cheers. Hey guys, thanks for watching this episode. Massively appreciate you listening and checking in with us. If you want to find out more about us and what we're doing, please check us out on social media. What we're trying to do at Engineers is build a community to drive knowledge sharing and experiences. On Twitter, we can be found at Engineers.io. It's no underscore. We've also got a website, which is engineers.io. These links will all be posted in the description. Any feedback and comments are massively appreciated. We're always looking to improve on where we can. Thanks, guys.